Hi everyone, once again welcome to KY Education's next live session, which is going to be all about spoken word poetry. Well, before I invite my guest to join us today, I would like to thank you all for being here today, and I hope that all of you all are safe and healthy in your homes. I know that the phase 2 of COVID came with a surprise, and it's been a difficult year for everyone, but I hope that we sail through this phase as well soon. Please get vaccinated, and please stay safe. Today's live session is going to be a lot of fun, especially for writers and poets. I have with me today a very special guest. Her name is JASMINE KHURANA. She is a wonderful spoken word poet and someone who personally inspired me. And while I wait for her to join us, Jasmine is here. Hi, Jasmine. Please send an invite so I can add you. Hi, hi Pankaj. Hi Pratibha. Hi Shiv. Hope you all are doing great. So yeah, as I was saying, I'm just going to invite JASMINE KHURANA. She is sensational, she's so inspiring, she's so witty, and she's right here today with all of us to inspire all of y'all. Alright, I'm just adding JASMINE. Spoken word poets are going to love this session. Hi Jasmine.
Hi,
Welcome aboard the
Prachi.
Keva community, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
The pleasure is all mine, and I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you're perfectly audible. Great. Thank you so much once again. I love the Buddha behind you. It's very
That's
beautiful.
to keep us all sane.
Yeah, and with Buddha Purnima coming up soon, I think it's beautifully auspicious. How are you doing?
The times we are in, I think we need all the blessings from all over.
Absolutely. How are you doing? How I hope COVID hasn't been very difficult on you, and you have been sailing through.
Yeah, somehow I think we have been sailing through. Every day is a new challenge, but
It is.
Yeah, you just have to keep yourself going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so, and that's why I'm so happy that amidst all of this, we could take out this 1 hour to talk about, your life and spoken word poetry and art forms and things that will motivate people amidst this time. So I'm so
I must
glad.
thank you, Prachi, for the lofty introduction but that's puts me in a challenge. I have to live up to that in the next 1 hour. So,
I
so
think
kind of
anyone
you. So
who's
kind of
already watched you already knows that you are all that I said and much more. So yeah, guys,
so kind of you.
if you haven't watched Jasmine's poetry, you have to right now after this show. I mean, not right now, but after the show, go to YouTube and find Jasmine and listen to all her amazing spoken word poetry. Jasmine, anywhere else we can listen to your work?
I think most of it is on YouTube. It's on my blog as well. So you just have to type Jasmine Khurana, and it's very easy.
Excellent. So guys, most of y'all who don't know about KY Education, KY Education is an experiential learning and adventure-based learning platform. And we are here to help each other share knowledge in every way that is possible. We have pinned down our pin. You can, our Instagram, you can join us here for our live session happening right now. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Hi Gagan, hi Bhavdeep, hi Sahil, hi Nisha. So guys, throughout this session, if you all have any questions that you all want to ask Jasmine, please comment below, write them down, and towards the end of the session, I am sure Jasmine would love to answer them for you. So we'll take a few questions, and as time gives us. Jasmine, to begin, why don't you start by sharing a little bit of your inspiring personal professional journey?
I think I started off trying to be something else, but I landed up here. So the journey is, I think I have to cut it very short because I belong to those medieval times. I have to span 4.5 decades and more. But writing, I took to professionally writing, I took to almost 5 years back. But if I say that I just woke up and started writing, no, it was there with me for since forever, since as back as I can remember. But at that time, it was just my jumbled notes of my confusions, my anger, my rage, my teenage rage, or during my 20s. There were
Analyzing your
little
emotions.
notes. Yeah, because there is a world walking into our lives in our 20s, especially by way of our professions and by way of our personal relations, and we are just figuring out a lot of things.
Yeah.
So 30s was again, 30s was about being a little bit of a rebel, also riding a bit on rage. 40s gives you a breather in many ways from your roles and responsibilities. And that's when I started thinking of writing professionally, and more so because a few of my blogs, I had a blog, and they did really well. One of them won the first Orange Flower Award for writing humor. So that kind of gave me a direction that okay, people are finding their stories in my story. And for someone who was very averse to being on social media, I am now spread out all over it. So that's the change that has happened. So that's about
From
it.
blogging, how did you get into spoken word poetry, as taking that up as a serious?
Stage was an addiction of sorts when I was in my school and college as well.
Okay.
But in between, I think for some decades, I would say it took a backseat. For some time, I was an economics lecturer. I was an administrator also. So that is, but going to the stage or going in front of a class, that's a very different kind of thing.
Right.
But I started off taking to the stages around when I was 44. I ventured into comedy first. A lot of people don't know that. And I think I tasted blood all over again. So, and then there was no looking back.
So what excited you to start a fresh career all of a sudden later in life? Like, what motivated you?
When I was into other careers, like when I was teaching economics, I was wholly and solely into it. I never realized that I wanted to do something else. Even when I was managing a school back almost now 20 years back, then also I was wholly solely into it. But I took a sabbatical of 10 years. I mean, those 10 years when I was riding the high horse of motherhood with my blinders on. And, there is a phase when our ovaries take over our brains. And I was kicking right and left, whatever was coming my way by choice. Like I wanted to hold on to every moment of my son's growing up. Yeah. And when, as I said, when I got a little breather, I realized that I had somewhere, I suddenly woke up to my story. I thought there is a way I need to tell my story. We have our sabbaticals, we make comebacks, and we should choose. I mean, the world should not decide for us how our stories should be told. I also realized that I was not very appreciative of stories of other women around me. So there was this seething urge to lighthouse every story around me. So that's what made me get to writing and eventually to speaking as well.
Oh, wow. Okay, lovely. So does your personal story emerge through all of your writings?
All of them. All of them.
Amazing.
I mean, I somehow, I've never been able to think beyond writing about my every piece. I feel I have given all that my life was dishing my way in this story, and now I have nothing left. I'm that kind of a person who feels that after this I'll put my legs up and relax, because I have already shared.
You're done. Wow.
Okay. Yeah, and then suddenly life is wonderful in many ways. It will dish something across, and some challenge, something again will come your way that you will want to share. There will be some cause that will command that you get back to writing. There will be some gush that will actually drive you to getting back to what you thought was the end of it all. So I take one piece at a time. I just throw myself into it, and then it's like
your emotions just flow through them, through your life. Lovely. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this. Once again, like I said, your journey itself is inspiring, and I think that is why it comes out so powerfully in all your poetry.
So kind of
before
you
we
to say
begin
that.
to go deeper into more serious questions, I want to start by, a lot of people still don't know what spoken word poetry is. So what is spoken word poetry, and how is it different than reciting poetry? What is this terminology, spoken word poetry?
Prachi, I always feel spoken word poetry is poetry in action. Poetry that has a visual aspect to it, that has an acoustic aspect to it, that is written with an intention that it will be performed. The base of it could be same. I mean, we have metaphors that will handhold you towards the final montage. We have that lyrical ebb and flow to it that evokes emotions. We have ways to park thoughts in the reader's mind. But if you say both are same, no, they are not, because it will be like saying that painting and sculpting is both same. No, there are different ways of doing both, and it has its roots in our oral tradition. We have, I think in India especially, we have had this oral tradition of reciting poetry, speaking aloud poetry since centuries. We had our saints, we had our Sufi saints, we had our mushairas, we had our kavi darbars, we had our kavi sammelans. So our poetries were always read aloud, and for me, I think I feel blessed that my first introduction to poetry, maybe when I was in my 4th grade or 5th grade, was hearing poetry and not reading it. I might not have made a zilch meaning out of any of that, but that stays with you, that whole emoting it, that visual aspect to it. So for me, and there are some poetries that command that they be read aloud. And we have grown on some of them. For me, Tagore's Where the Mind is Without Fear,
I just thought of
it is as good when you read it also, but when it's read aloud, it evokes, I mean, a different kind of patriotism. And hearing that when I was growing up, or hearing Shiv Kumar Batalvi's poetries, which always want to be sung aloud or to be read aloud. So that was all about it. And this is what spoken word is. Every era, every time, we will have new names that we will be giving to those genres. But we can't take away the fact that we have had these since times immemorial with us. So, and I think it's a very beautiful way of leaving a mark. But yes, there is a challenge as well. You have then and there to leave that mark. Page poetry, there are poets like Shelley, Byron, Frost. I would want to visit on page, because they need that reading, that rereading, and all of that. But then there are poetries that need to be spoken aloud. Some of them are like clarion calls. Some of them are to evoke patriotism. Some of them are to comfort you, to heal you. Some of them are to discomfort those who need to be discomforted also. So spoken word is all of that. And it could have, in its broader version, it could have free verse also. It could have prose also that is written with the purpose of being spoken aloud. And that will ensure that you add a little flow to it. You add buoyance to it. You add cadence to it. Because that is what will make it stand out. Or that is what will make it find a place in the listener's head, in the listener's heart. So that's all about spoken word.
Absolutely, and I think this is such a wonderful fact that even though the terminology spoken word poetry has started trending very recently in recent times, and there are young people taking it up, talking about it as a career option now and all. But spoken word poetry has actually always been there. It's not something new that has emerged. Just because, like you said, we've given it a new name, we've given it a hashtag in today's day, it does not change the fact that
we made it look like it's a new age
spoken word poetry.
we've made it look like it's a new age thing.
Exactly.
Yes, it is, because a lot of very young people are venturing into it, and which is very, very heartening to see. You know, people taking to writing and people taking to spoken word, because I think writing and then speaking out certainly makes you a better version of your own self.
I think
because
you performed literature, spoken word
exactly.
poetry.
Exactly.
You know? It is literature, but it is performed. It is
performed. Yeah. We add that visual aspect to it.
Absolutely.
We add that body language to it. And the base could be like the good writing, but you cannot, run away from the fact that the base has to be good writing.
True.
You know, I read somewhere, and it made so much sense that a bad poetry performed very well will still remain bad poetry. But a good piece of poetry will need to have a lot more added to it to become a spoken word masterpiece. So you cannot casually run away with doing one part of it. That I can be casual with the writing part, or I can be casual with the delivery part of it. You have to be, putting your heart and soul into both of them.
Beautifully said. Beautiful. Jasmine, do you think that there is a scope for spoken word poetry to be considered as a serious, as a career option rather than a serious hobby? Do you think?
No, that question should not, but it tickles me a lot, because, you know, I hope I had a definite...
Opportunities nowadays, there are so many opportunities with corporate events, concerts, digital platforms. There is so much more exposure and so many more opportunities out there for people. So even if poetry, there are still a lot of preconceived notions. I mean, obviously in the last decade, we have crossed that barrier where we have broken that preconceived notion that somebody has to be a doctor, scientist, engineer. And, you know, you see so many more talents emerging, like photography, stand-up comedy, spoken word poetry. There are so many different things. I mean, there is somebody who is a fire dancer as a career option, a mentalism, you know, there's so many things. Similarly, spoken word poetry is starting to get that exposure today. So do you think that with these new opportunities coming people's way, right now is the time when you can, you know, take the plunge and say, maybe I want to be a spoken word poet, you know, I'm a talented writer.
No, I agree with all that you're saying, Prachi. Actually, you put it very well. It is one of the most upcoming, and in fact, we have had spoken word artists who are doing really well in that. But having said that, I will also not deny the fact that yes, a lot of corporates and a lot of brands and a lot of platforms, we have been lucky actually that we have had platforms that have pioneered and given us a place to showcase our talent. But there are other platforms, I feel, overall that need to warm up to this space, that need to tap the potential of spoken word still, so that, you know, there are a handful of us who have taken this plunge. And we know very well that this path is challenging. It doesn't come easy, and more so given the last 1 year, you know, when things were looking up and we were feeling, okay, we are there. And now, look, it's going to, there's going to be fire in our kitchen. All we can do basis our spoken word gigs and all of that. And then everything just, our planets were thrown off the axis entirely. So the challenge certainly is there. It doesn't promise a fixed flow, and that is a challenge not with this art, Prachi. It's a challenge with every art for that matter. Every creative person will go through that. But then why platforms? I will call upon, through this bigger platforms like Netflix and Amazon Prime and all the OTT platforms, that why are you not tapping? Give us 1 hour specials, so that you know, we will not just humor you, we will not just entertain you. That is also, look, every art has its own challenges, not undermining any of them. They are doing a wonderful job, but we can also give you a complete package. We can make you think, we can bring about a revolution, and we can do all of that. So the thing is that it has opened up, and we are blessed that it has, but there is lots more that needs to be done still.
Right. So, you're talking about the aspect of more platforms giving more exposure. And towards, a while later, I want to get deeper into this and discuss more with you on how different platforms can help and, how education systems can help. But before that, coming back to the conversation we were having. So I would really like to know from you as a mother, as a parent, do you think that today children should be uh, could take up spoken word poetry as a career option, or somebody like you who started later in life, could it be a career option in today's time, or do you think it's only
Definitely. No, I will say, because I think, we need more youngsters coming into this space. We already have a lot of youngsters here, but we need more and more youngsters given the times that we are in. I mean, be it the pandemic or be it the political scenario, I think we need to have more youngsters who come in, who voice their opinions and all of that. And the more the people come in, I think the more that change will be there. And when you ask me about my son, because I mean a mother of a 20-year-old also, though I know that it's not, but then I would want him to follow his calling. If at 47 I feel this was my ikigai, this is my ikigai now, and it was eluding me all the time. I didn't know only that okay, this is what I want to do in life. I would want him to get into it way earlier, or whatever creative fields that he wants to get into. And when you say doctors, for us writers, Margaret Lawrence says that when I say work, for me it is writing and nothing else beyond that. For us writers, being a doctor, being an engineer is not work. For us it is writing. We breathe, we live, we wake up with an idea. It's like an alarm clock that wakes us up every morning.
Absolutely.
And fires that thing that, okay, we get to writing.
Do you think lockdown has been a great time for people to write? People are locked up in their homes, in their natural environments.
Yeah.
Given that.
So I think lockdown has been both ways, actually, Prachi. We have gone through times when we feel that, okay, this is the worst time to create anything, to write anything. And there are days when you feel, if not now, then when? You oscillate between those two thought processes, that this phase needs to be written about. I mean, more so, because it's very unprecedented. It's something we never foresaw.
True. Very true. And I think it's very important to try to be positive and, try to be creative amidst this time to keep your sanity intact. And
exactly.
so
Anything, for that matter, I think,
it's a great way to channelize your emotions, any form of art.
Any form of art. Yes, you said it right, that it's not writing, whatever gives you solace, whatever, like for most of us, writing, speaking, sharing, that's a therapy. That's a way of self-preserving ourselves. So for someone else it could be something else. For you it could be photography, for you it could be painting. So this is the phase where we have to just stick to something that is therapeutic in more ways than one.
Okay, so guys, once again, thank you all for joining. Hi, Nidhi. Hi, Nishi. Hi, Amy. Hi. So Mukherjee Jiricha says Jasmine is such an inspiration.
Thank you so much, Richa.
Hi, Sidhu. Hi, Dhara. Hi, Jayesh. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Wow. Lots of y'all are pouring in. Please put down your comments. If you have any questions, once again, please put them down and we'll take them forward in the end of the session. Jasmine, when I first heard you at the Spoken Fest, I was not only inspired by you, and you left me with this feel-good factor, and I was whistling away. But at the same time, there was so much of you made me laugh a lot. There was this beautiful balance of there was this wittiness and humor in everything that you were saying, which meant so much. So, how does a writer find this balance of adding zest to attract an audience, while talking about any serious issue or something meaningful? How does one do that?
I think, in my case, it has got lots to do with who I am actually as a person. Humor is a very intrinsic part of how I deal with a lot of things in my life. And it's inherited as well. I think I was lucky to have parents who are very witty. My father was very witty. But having said that, I feel when you are adding and also before that, I would say that every writer, every artist has their own way. There is no right or wrong way of doing it. For me, humor is my armor. As I said, riding on rage, I realized wasn't working. It's taking away parts of you. So somewhere I made humor my armor. And for me, it helps because I feel when we add a touch of humor, we welcome people in. It's easier to handhold them, take them, and then little bit discomfort them in between. Even if you do that, they kind of forgive you for doing that, and they stay with you till the end of that piece. And my issue is that uh, as a writer, I have to work on it. My pieces are very long, most of them, and that increases the magnitude of challenge that I invite for myself, because if I have a 10 minutes piece, I can't just run through 10 minutes without hand holding the audience, humoring them and tickling them, and plus at the same time making my point, putting my point across. It comes down to a little sarcasm at times, but I try to keep it in that thin line. I try that remains. Right. That's how I look at my adding humor to it. But then, Prachi, there have been pieces that, like last year, it's not all my pieces have humor. Yes, this piece, My 6 Yards Are My Cape, The Banker had humor. My one earlier, the first piece had it. But last year, when we had the migrants issue, I sat down to writing. That was the time, you feel humor too is a privilege. You're sitting on a heap of privileges, and to be able to laugh out loudly or to able to find humor is also a privilege, which you start feeling guilty about at times when you see the world going through so much. So when it was about the farmers' protest, which was a cause very close to my heart, I realized no, it had to be angst there. It had to be my rage that was coming forward. So I allow myself that freedom to myself and my thoughts to take that course of action. So some pieces will have humor, some pieces will have a little bit of angst, some pieces will be very comforting, some will not be. So
it is important to have that understanding of when you need to be sensitive towards
that
something.
balance.
That balance is very important, and when you can take the liberty to make it a little light, the situation, there has to be that understanding, and I think that can only come with your understanding as a human being. So I think you said it
comes actually, it comes more with the more you write, the more you perform. It's like a muscle that you exercise, any form of writing or creating. Absolutely. That and with time you realize, okay, this is working, this is connecting, this is welcoming people in, and this is kind of putting people away from you. So at the end of the day, we are performers, and we want to take people along. We don't want to be people pleasers, but then there's a fine line. I think you get it, the more you do it, you get it eventually.
Absolutely, well said. Jasmine, how long does it, how much prep goes into one performance?
Every piece, Prachi, takes its own time. I have never been able to kind of lay down a time framework. Even when somebody approaches me with a time frame, I say, no, I cannot do that. Like, for example, 6 Yards Are My Cape, no one would believe it took me 9 months to come up with what it finally came up to. Wow. A banter between generations might have taken just a week. just a week. And women will have it all also, maybe just 15 days. But yes, women will have it all had a very rough journey. I think at some point I should share that also with the audience, because not all pieces, you see the final version of it,
Correct.
and you feel it has come very easy. But there are rough patches. There are so many performances at open mics. There are so many performances while you are doing the most mundane things at home, that the piece is running at the back of your head. There are words that are just commanding that they be left out of the piece.
Right.
There are lines that fight to fit in, in every piece. And then finally, at one fine day, every writer, every performer gets that moment where that it strikes that no, not even a word more. It's now, I'm there. But
It's done.
again, then
That feeling,
that is something you cannot define. You cannot
True.
lay it on paper that this is how you reach there. It's a journey that every piece has to, every piece has to travel. You have to travel along with it.
Absolutely. And what about a live performance? For example, you have a gig 2 days later and you have this performance. Is there any kind of a prep you do for that? Is there any routine you follow, or anything specific that you do to prepare for live?
I have brought the house to stand still at a lot of times. But I have improved over time. That nervousness is there every time. I will never deny that. And maybe that helps you. Put 100% in every piece, because every going up there is a challenge, because there is a responsibility you have. It's not just that 10 minutes allotted time that you have to just consume. You have to leave a mark. You have to leave an impression that the audience takes back home. There's a for this 1 hour live also. There's a lot of responsibility that is there. You have, and given these times, like yesterday, we have. Since you talked about the pandemic, we have had a very big tragedy in the house, and last night I was thinking that do I really? Will I be in that frame of mind to be talking about my work? At times, you feel, and our jobs are not mechanical.
No,
it's not that something we are producing. It has to do a lot with how our minds are working. But then, of course, a prior commitment is a commitment that I always feel, unless there is something I have to honor it. But then before a live performance, 2-3 days before that, I go in that mode of, focusing on the piece totally. And yes, of course, remembering the piece is very important, because it is like you are raising a baby. You are first just carrying it till the time you have not remembered it. You're carrying it. There is a paper in your hand. Then you are hand holding it to take its first step. That a few lines will come. Those few lines that you remember, you will be able to put all your emotions in it. But if you're struggling with remembering and putting in emotions, it will be a struggle. So remembering is one part. Not forgetting, making sure you're not forgetting, is another part of it. And I have learned over time, from practicing in a controlled environment to practicing in a mayhem kind of state, or in a very disturbing, not disturbing, in fact, where we have a lot of external noises and all, because you have to be prepared for everything when you go to a stage. You might have practiced in a different setup. If the setup is due, there is all chance you will lose the string. But
it's better to perform in a silent environment. Practice in a silent environment.
A lot of us
practice in a noisy.
For a lot of us, I always used to feel that, practicing in front of a mirror or in a controlled, silent environment is good. But then in one of her, in an offhand conversations, Sheena Khalid once told me that, try it the other way also. There will be lesser chances of you losing the string. And that worked with me. And that's where in this space, that's where I always emphasize the importance of connecting, exchanging with other fellow spoken word artists, other mentors in this space. Talk it out with them. because there is always something to learn. In my space, most of them are half my age, but I'm telling you, Prachi, I have learned the most from them. I mean, seeing how they manage it, how they do it. So there is something, somebody will take away something from me. I will take something from somebody else. So in that space, that whole thing, and that's what we are missing these last 1.5 years. That's what we are missing, getting
The
together.
personal
And
connect, yeah.
actually, yeah. So that's something we all creative people are missing. Those who are used to live getting together for live events and all of that, much more the performance part. This is something we have lost out on.
Absolutely. I think I even miss looking at strangers. I look outside and
Yeah,
I see no human beings walking around. Absolutely. It's
seriously.
a huge
The most
change.
beautiful part for a performer is a stranger walking up to you and saying, I have found my story in your story.
Wow.
You, or a youngster coming and saying that, okay, I would want to share this with my mother. Total strangers becoming your own.
Absolutely.
You don't feel lonely in your story. You see,
Yeah.
you feel there is a whole world out there, and that is what encourages us to keep taking this challenge. They say, every time I'm asked, a lot of people ask me, it's tough to go up. I mean, how do you again do it over and over again? I tell them that, that connection that is formed, that is way beyond any monetary reward, anything that we get. And that is what takes us back to the stage, face whatever challenges we face, and then keep doing it again and again. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you mentioned earlier, before a while ago, you said that you still get nervous.
yeah, I do.
Even now when you perform, you still get nervous. So,
Yeah, I'm now looking forward to getting back on stage after I don't know, now it will be 2 years or 3 years, because it will be again starting from, maybe it is not starting from zero, because as I said, in school I used to do, and in my, I mean, almost mid 40s I started doing it again.
right.
So that whole thing is not, that muscle memory is there. I mean,
Yeah.
what you say. But the thing is that every time I do get that, even the spoken fest piece that you are talking about,
Yeah.
every stanza of it,
Yeah.
it's not just one piece at a time. Every stanza of it, we I think every performer will agree with me that at the back of our mind there is a whole lot of thought that is going with how every
True.
stanza is progressing or connecting with the audience. And
Right.
for me, that moment of stepping up with a lot of anxiety, because that was the biggest stage,
Yeah.
and it was intimidating in more ways than one. There was a crowd of hundreds sitting in front of me, and that was the twilight moment, if you remember.
Yeah.
The day was turning into night, and at
Yeah.
that point backstage, what was running in my mind, that even this transition might somewhere disturb me. You don't want any flow to be
The
broken.
mood changes with the lighting, with the
Yeah. So, and to say that it looks very easy. Okay, you went up, you vomited, and you came back. No, every piece you have to gauge. Look how the audience is lapping up. Are they really warming up? And then I think after fourth, fifth stanza, and there comes a moment when you know that, okay, now I can take them along, and I mean, they are just now watching me, and they are now. Then you don't mind taking a minute extra, because it's been taken well. So
yeah.
it's while navigating through the piece on stage, and Prachi, whether it is 1,000 people in the audience or just 5 people in the audience, I think the responsibility is the same. The responsibility is the same.
Are there any on-stage, uh, improvisations that happen, even though you have prepared a set? There are times that, like you just said, there are times when you look at the audience and you feel that, now I have
Yeah.
enough. So are there any moments during the transition where you decide, okay, let's do something improv? How do you
I've
handle
done
that?
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have done that. Now, technically, Prachi, I don't know whether this is the right way of doing it or it's not the right way of doing it. When I did 6 yards, my cape, it was, I knew end to end, it is going like this only. With the women will have it all, the spoken fest, mehfil stage performance. By the fourth para, I somehow started having a ball. That as you see, there is a roar of laughter that's just transcending from one end of the crowd to the other. And I remember one line was there. I think there was one line, for you, it's just homemakers.
Yeah.
And when there was a kind of roar that came from the audience, I don't know why I added, I will come back to that. It was not a part of,
wasn't a part of the.
it was not at all a part of my piece. I felt that, okay, I can
You
throw
felt
this.
like
That line just came and I threw it, and it was taken. They also caught it. And
Yeah.
then again, there is one, I think I added a Hindi line. When I said that was something, picture abhi baki hai mere dost. Because,
Correct.
I felt that, okay, they are now parking themselves with this thought. And I need to just prepare them. And now on hindsight, when I look at it, I do feel that was a very big risk I took, because, when you are adding something suddenly, there is all chance. I am always afraid that I will lose the whole string. But, I give all credit to the audience. It's the audience has to, that means all that, when you say spoken word should be taken up, I mean, as a career and all, that crowd of thousands in that ground was I mean, what do I say? It was of the fact that there are people who love spoken word, and people who will be there, who will throng the grounds. Yeah, there are people who are there. And there was one stanza, there was one whole stanza. As I said, if I have been given 9 minutes time, there is a responsibility to stick to that time also.
Yeah.
But in my head, that piece had a very rough history, actually. So at the Delhi Spoken Fest, when I had come down from the stage, I was not very happy. I had felt somewhere I had talked down. And it's always good to confess that. As a performer, you need to be aware, that cue has come to you, that you have somewhere. I felt this was more of a talking down. It was not a two-way interaction. And I had just 1 month, and I was like, how do I? And I had this at the back of my mind. There are lines that when the day I turned 40, I gifted myself a mantra: dear life, dear skewed world, whatever lemons you will throw at me, I will lovingly catch them, slice them, dunk them in my celery salted puns, and dish them back to you in the form of my tangy writings, my brands of Bloody Mary, my way of staying high on life, my way of rising like a phoenix with every verse. You better cultivate a taste for them. For me,
Wow.
I wanted to add this para, but it was making it almost a minute longer. And when I stepped up, I had this in mind. I will see how it's going. And at the 5th or 6th para, when I saw everything is being lapped up so well, I had made up my mind that, okay, this is going, and nobody will mind my taking that half a minute extra also. No, not that anyone would have, otherwise also, objected to that. But, as a performer up there also, there are improvisations, which now, after 4 years of being into this space, I have started experimenting with. But earlier I used to play very safe, very safe.
So it's important to take risks sometimes.
But,
yeah.
It adds to your this thing also. You feel you step down after an adventure. It gives you also a high. It's the audience has had a high, but with that you also have had a high. That okay, this worked. And when I stepped down from, there was a lot of gratitude. You feel that, okay, you have lived a lifetime in those 10 moments. And that's all, like, you feel, okay, I am somebody who will, after every such performance, I feel, okay, I'm done now. But then, okay,
It motivates you also to do
you know, you
more.
have to be grateful, and
Gratitude is
I
a
think
very
we are
important
blessed
thing.
that we have had platforms like Commune who have given us an audience like that, and a festival like Spoken Fest.
Absolutely.
And we have had the chance to share stage with people like Rudy and Shane Kwazan, and I mean earlier fests as well. So it's very humbling. It's very, very humbling in many ways.
Absolutely. And I think more such, shows and more such spaces need to come up
Yeah.
for audiences to get delighted with such kind of new art forms rising now. It's very
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Because we
Thank
are
you so
very
much for
sure.
reciting that small thing for us in the middle.
That's,
It came out
thank
in a
you.
conversation, but it was beautiful. I want to ask you, how do you memorize? Is there any strategy or something you use to memorize your monologues? You know, like you said, your monologues are quite long. So once you've
Yeah.
written them down, you know, while you're working on them, they usually come out. Even when I write poetry, you know, it just tends to I write it down, but then it's not always that I will remember all my
Yeah.
poetry. So, is there any good strategy to memorize them?
You know, actually, different things will work for, because I
Different
always
people.
say I belong to that old era of, like, I mean, those medieval dinosaur era. So we were always used to writing, making notes while writing. Even when we
Yeah.
used to study, we didn't have laptops and all of that at that point. So I still stick to that. I have that picture image stays with me more. You know,
Yeah.
while performing, I need to picturize, like, okay, after this stanza. And as I said, my pieces are very long. There are most of the time 8 or 9 or 10 stanzas in that, and to, I mean, to string them well. So I have that thing of keeping a cue that, okay, after this, after, it has to be a picture image for me, you know. And I have to write it down with my hand. It a type thing doesn't work for me. So that's how I try to remember it. And once, you know, you have fitted in all the emotions and all of it, then it becomes then you don't forget it.
True.
It's only in the initial stages. I won't ever say that mug it all up.
Yeah.
It's not right, but then having it is good to just learn it all and then improvise it and put all of that together. But then both of them go side by side, actually.
Yeah.
Both happen parallel to each other.
Absolutely. You recently did a performance with your son. I saw that on YouTube, and it was amazing. How was that experience for you?
That's actually not very recent. That's almost, it's now 3 years. We did it 3 years back.
Sorry.
And, you know, that was a phase when we were locking horns quite a bit. You know,
Okay.
teenage comes with its
Yeah.
own, and I always say, like, it was my second teenage. Midlife is more than that. So
Yeah.
somehow his raging, hormones raging in, my hormones running out, and we were at loggerheads all the time. And we were like, and you know, there's another thing, when we mothers get carried away with the motherhood part, and we don't realize that, you know, we have a cameo to play, and there is a time we have to let go. And
Yeah.
in that cusp, okay, of holding on, holding them forward and letting go, is the time when they feel they have evolved into, I mean, and rightfully they feel so. And I always say parenting doesn't come with a manual, so how do I
Yeah.
know? And growing
Yeah.
up also doesn't come with a manual, so how does he know? So we were
Yeah.
just wading through the waters, and the father suggested that since you have so much content against each other at home, why don't you do it and vent it out? And I feel grateful that he agreed to do it, because at that age you cannot, I mean, if they
Yeah.
decide not to, they will not. Somehow
Yeah.
he felt that, okay, we can do this. And I mean, that's, I think, the most special piece. I am told that, and I claim, till the time nobody contests that claim, that that is the only spoken word piece done by a mother and son together.
Wow. Amazing.
And a year down the line, because we were invited to a lot of colleges and fests to perform that piece, because we realized that one year that piece did a lot of rounds, like it was viral also. And the thing was that, you know, it kind of bridged that gap that was there between us. It helped us bridge those differences, because every time we had to go up on stage, we needed that chemistry. We didn't have a way out. So
Yeah.
it ironed out all the creases that our relation was going through. So that's and now if I tell him, I think he's 20 now, I don't think he will agree at all. So
All right, Jasmine, let's just take a few comments. Learning
yeah.
Essence says, question, are you born with it, or is this excellence powered by hard work?
Alright, that's Kashmira. So kind of you to say that. I mean, I
Hi,
have to
Kashmira.
a lot of credit to my mother, because she was the one who used to write my scripts in my school days and all. And I think that kind of got me addicted. And there is a lot of hard work also. There is a balance of both.
Dilvia says, love the way you speak, Jasmine ma'am. Learning Essence says, I love you.
Devya, thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. If you all have more questions, please put them down. Now is the time. You all can note down your questions in the comments, and we will take them. Gagan Sagu says, hi, guys. Hi. All right. So coming back, most freelancers nowadays, whether it's spoken word poets or stand-up comedians, most freelance spoken word poets have managers.
Yeah.
How important is it to have a manager?
The very fact that, you know, managers are there proves the fact that they can do a lot for you. I mean, I think the best that they do is that relieve artists of totally from all the other aspects and let them focus on the creating part. They can pitch your work wonderfully. They can connect you to brands. They can collaborate, help you with collaborations or get gigs for you. So having said that, I will also say, look, I have had a very good mix of both. Independently also I have done, and I have done through wonderful artists, managers who are connected with platforms. So it's a good thing to have. You know, the base has to be, you know, initially you have to focus on your art. This all comes later, and eventually if you are like planning to go all out, or you're looking at it as actually a career and all, then yes, it's wonderful to have a manager.
Okay. And how important is it to have a balance between letting someone manage you and still having the freedom to, you know, make your own decisions and be the decision maker to maintain like the status quo?
That is the most important. That is one reason also that I'm very, like, you know, we have social media managers as well. But the thing again is, like, you know, there are a lot of our artists who are doing it very professionally, and I really appreciate that part. But there are people, you know, everybody will have their own way. I have that kind of mindset that I cannot be told by somebody that, okay, these many posts in a week you need to put, and this is that hour of the day that you need. No, my freedom is, I think, way too important for me to do that. But then again, if you are looking at, you know, our social media space has its own benchmarks. You know, you're looking at these many Insta followers, you're looking at these many followers on YouTube. So if you look at my profile, if that's the benchmark of success, I'm nowhere. So maybe because I never followed that path, or I choose not to do that. But those who are doing it, they're managing it wonderfully. So you know, it's really good to follow it with that professional approach also. As long as your freedom remains, no one decides for you what you are going to be writing on, what you're going to be speaking on, you know, that and all of that. You have the liberty of time, you decide everything. That is a fine balance, and I think it eventually comes. You know, maybe I am a little, when you are not doing something, you are a little fearful of that. But when you start doing it, I think it becomes smooth. Somewhere down the line, all the rough edges smoothen out, and
once you get a hang of it on how to deal with
exactly,
situations.
exactly.
So for somebody who's starting out freshly in, taking this up as a new career, for somebody who's an aspiring spoken word poet and wants to, start out, venture out into the industry now, how do you recommend they go about it? Do you think they should, go and look for a agent or a manager to manage them? And otherwise, do you think they should, start freelancing? And in both scenarios, how does one begin? If you're freelancing on your own, how do you get events? Do you think networking is a very important aspect of this? And or how do you approach these agencies? How does one begin?
I think the initial journey, Prachi, is very important. The mistake that a lot of those venturing in could be making is that they are just jumping on to looking for gigs and all of that. I will not here talk about my own thing and just blow my trumpet, but there have been years when we have been going to open mics and testing our stuff. Sometimes it fails, sometimes we fumble, sometimes we, it has that, I always say there is that slow cooking thing, and we have seen it in the case of comedians also. You don't get it like overnight. And in that sense, when you have not worked on your craft, no manager will be able to do anything, will be able to add the value that they are supposed to be adding. So justifying their role also, we artists also need to invest time in that run up to where we are attempting to reach. And then what I have seen is, once your work is connecting, once the people are lapping up your work, there are so many ways. It's not just managers who will do it. A lot of my work has come through platforms, but there have been the biggest of gigs that I have done, they have come through Twitter. Somebody has found my video on it's landed on their WhatsApp, and they are kind of heading an institute, and they have contacted me through that. So this is all the, social media, as I say, it's a double-edged sword, but this is all the the positives of it, that people
Right.
will find a way to reach you. People will find a way to, yeah. The most awkward part, I always feel, is the negotiation part. I always want somebody else to do it for me,
To do it for you.
that's a very, as much as it should not be, we should be able to command what our craft deserves. But somewhere, I think we many of us artists have that thing, and then there is when a manager is really very, very helpful. They can do that tough job for you
Better than you.
yeah, in a better way also, and then you are relieved. You're not getting into the that negotiating
Right.
part of it.
Right. So I think there are pros and cons, and eventually, if you focus on your art, if you focus on
Yeah.
just going to open mics and trying out new stuff, trying out your material, and if you're beginning, I think focus more on your art than all these things, and all these things will follow
Yeah.
once you start realizing that your material has enough
And every piece,
strength.
Prachi,
Yeah.
every piece, will have phases when you are in self-doubt also.
Yeah.
When you have spent too much time with one piece, there will be a phase, that phase also, where you will yourself get bored and be in a doubt whether you really want to put it out. As I said, with 6 yards am I cape, I spent 9 months sitting on that piece. And
Absolutely.
in between, there was a phase when I just shoved it away. I thought, no, yeah, this is not what I want to put it out. But then, taking a break from a piece also works very wonderfully. Take a break and then come back to it. It's like renewed love. It's like in a love affair. Take a break from each other, and then, you will come all heated up again, and you will come up heated up with new ideas. So
Trust me,
it's like
nobody
that.
understands that more than me. I wrote my first novel, and I stopped it at the last 2 chapters, and I said, now I need a break. I can, and I had a writer's block for a while. In fact, I've just started rewriting it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are writer's blocks that
Yeah.
happen.
And
I
read
for the
somewhere
best
that
reasons.
a writer will turn a whole library to write one novel or write a piece of poetry. you know, you have to, reading is also another important part when we are talking about that craft and honing it and all that also. I mean, you know, reading also is, it's not just writing and rewriting. Reading also is a very integral part of it. So that's how you will improve. That's how, invest time in writing, invest time in reading, invest time in performing it over and over again. Every time, you know, your audience will give you a cue, what has worked, what has not worked. And of course, you are the master. You are the best person to decide at the end of the day. So
you know, this brings me to a very interesting question. Like you just explained, there could be a time when, you know, you are on stage and you feel that you've recited something and you feel that there is a particular line that didn't work for this audience. Would you do you think it's at that point it's time to evaluate that sentence and maybe try to rework it, or do you think a writer should, you know, take another shot and try the same
yeah,
line with another audience?
I think the final choice is rests with the writer, where, because as much as I say we take cues from the audience, we cannot keep tampering with the piece just because you know there
The
is
audience
something
reacts
intrinsic
in
to
it.
the piece that is yours. You have the right because you are bearing your soul, uh, and most of us are telling our stories. I cannot tweak a little part just because somebody, and then, you know, there will be critics. I mean, all over.
Always.
So, you know, it says that, you know, someone says that, you know, before developing your craft, the writing, develop a thick hide, thick skin. Also, because you know, when you are any work that you're putting out, there will be people who will have a, okay, she's making too much noise out of nothing. You know, there will be people who will say that. There will be people who will have a very different take on how you've put things. So take the cue, that also, that evaluation, you know, as I said, maybe if you're talking down, that maybe that whole timbre and the tone you could change, maybe. If you feel that that's kind of intimidating the audience and it's like holding them, okay, back, unless you really want to discomfort them because you are, I mean, talking of a cause which you need people to think about and put it across. But then again, you know, it's a journey actually. It's a very, in that moment, what you feel, you take a cue, but the cues are there, no doubt. The cues you get, no doubt about it. And as I said, we have a wonderful we have wonderful audience everywhere. I mean, sadly we have to talk about it in the past tense, because it's now a thing of distant past, when we used to go for live gigs and we used to test our pieces, you know, that let them go through that fire, that okay, how it's being taken and how it's not being taken.
True. We need to have more open mics online now. We need to change with time. We need to start doing things. Coming to this, how do you think we can impact this art form? And, you know, do you think how do you feel we can improvise on it right now in COVID times? And what can we do to utilize this time to be more productive and, you know,
online shows are there. I think we could use this time to read a lot more and to internalize, to look at way forwards, because you know, just when we were feeling we are past the worst, we thought we have paid all our dues. I mean, the second wave has hit us, like, you know, we were all gearing up. In fact, there were gigs coming our way. We were in talks with that we thought March onwards everything is going to open up. And then suddenly we've been hit on the back, as if we were just coming out of the door, and we've been hit on the back. And plus like, you know, the whole uncertainty, the fear. Last year when we started with the lockdown, the feelings were very different. You know, we were laughing about it, we were making jokes, we had an inflating sense of achievement, as if we were like we had adjusted to the new normal and all of that.
Nobody has humor now.
No, there is fear, because of the simple reason that, you know, you I mean, we are seeing the worst of times. We are seeing, you know, the only positive part is that empathy in that citizens are showing, that empathy we are seeing on social media, with people amplifying that, those calls, those desperate calls for beds and hospitals and everything. Otherwise, there is lots to feel really enraged about, bad about. And and going forward, we honestly, I think, no, none of us knows where it is headed, and what is going to be the future of how we are going to be performing, getting back to live events or all. We are just, I mean, everybody is just waiting and watching. And till that time, I think online is the only way that is there with us, because we can't even gather at homes. I mean, no one is stepping out, no one is inviting anyone. So it's all like
I think
just
everyone
wait
wants
and
to
watch.
just get over and done with this now.
Yeah.
So,
And it doesn't look like that it's going to get over very soon. So all the more reason. So it's time to, I think, work on your mental health, keep your sanity. Most of us have lost our space inside houses as well. People are not stepping out. We are intruding into each other's space, and now it's like it's come down to a doorstep. We are, even if we are not losing loved ones, Prachi, we are hearing of, I mean, somebody or the other, I mean, thousands of people who are just gasping for breath. And these are times when, you really feel that, do we actually look at, uh, uh, dream about it also? That also feels like a privilege. Like, do you really want to do that? Dream about live shows and all of that.
Absolutely.
All we can do is use our art during this time to talk about the times that we are in. Maybe any story can heal somebody. It's the way we tell our stories. Yeah, and there is a lot of healing that is needed. A lot of people are losing, I mean, everything.
Like we spoke, it's a good time to realize that your art is a great way to channelize your emotions, and you can at this time, use that as a platform to
exactly
inspire people. Instead of, there are so many people going through so much depression right now. They are not in the right frame of mind at this time. I think people need more positivity around, and
when we talk
it's a
of
beautiful
online
time
events,
there's always something I say in my photography workshops. I always tell all my students that there are two things that are very important. One is being inspired, and one is what vision you want to portray. Consider your photograph as a blank canvas. It is in your hands what you want to portray. Similarly, right now is the time to choose any art form that you have, whether it's a painting, whether it's a writing, whether it's a photography, and use that as a platform to not only channelize your emotions, but pass a message through whatever you want to say to the world. Pass emotions. Just the way a viewer stands below a painting and looks at it and can read it literally in so many different ways. Every art form will reach you, will reach the viewers. So it's very important.
And art is the biggest healer. And in any form, be it poetry, be it paintings, be it photography, and online events. We do talk about online events, Prachi, but what I think all artists who are there, or I mean, otherwise also will agree that now today, when we commit, look, life was always uncertain. Death was always a certainty. It's not like that. But today, when we commit to anything, last week we had a comedy event where Mother's Day, we had to do jokes. The first thought that came to me, we had somebody close who was not doing very well. We were fearing the worst. And the first thought that came to me, that was on that particular day, will I be able to tell a joke? I mean, that fear is there in your mind. Leave aside telling a joke. I mean, you are wanting to make others laugh. We have never gone through such uncertain times with the worst fears looming over our head. So these are times to be kind to our own selves also.
And feel gratitude. for
Yes, and
everything that we have at the
gratitude.
moment,
And
and
luckily we
inhale
have,
blessings and exhale gratitude. I
yes,
think that is the most important
yeah.
at this moment.
And luckily we have
Like that.
platforms like yours is there, like we have others who
Yeah.
are kind towards this kind of thinking, that okay, I mean, you have to be in your that particular state of mind to be delivering, so you take your time, you take your call. They're leaving that choice to us. No one is chasing us, no one is
Yeah.
doing that. So we are grateful for that. That's keeping our art alive. Then, and when no one is chasing you, you feel that okay, let me bring myself to doing it. And after doing it, you feel very light. You feel, oh my god, thank heavens I did it. Because for that some time you disconnect yourself from your fears.
Yeah.
You disconnect from yourself from and I mean, just worrying, which has become, I think, a part of all of us.
Absolutely.
So that's how it is.
So I think today's takeaway word for everyone should be gratitude, and
Actually,
this is something to just today tonight when you sit with yourself. I think just think of all the reasons why you feel gratitude and
yeah,
what you feel grateful for, and just thank the universe uh, for everything beautiful in your life that is still
yeah,
there, and for you being able to be yourself yet.
yeah.
So, and
And
for
I think
knowing that one day we will get past this. We cannot
yes,
lose hope right now, guys. So
yeah,
just be hopeful, be strong. Remember that your mental strength is of utmost importance, and keep staying grateful. All
yeah.
right. So, Jasmine, coming back to our conversation, just the last few questions before we wrap. KY education is all about knowledge sharing. And I would really like to know from you, is there a way, how do you think more institutes or how should the education of spoken word poetry enhance? How do you think that there should be more courses and workshops that are created for this? Do you think currently there is enough exposure out there for spoken word poetry? And if there isn't, then how do you suggest we help as an educationist? How can we help develop this skill more?
I think, Prachi, the thing is that, as you said, spoken word is opening, but still there will be a lot of people who will ask me that question, that what exactly is it that you do?
Yeah.
It's that space that, so what I feel is that from the very beginning, one is that spoken word has to be acknowledged as a legit literature, a part
Yeah.
of literature.
Yeah.
And that also should ensure that, the way we have, if I say today that I give 100% credit to the fact that I have grown up on poetry
Yeah.
since my childhood days. I think we need to expose our children from the very beginning
Absolutely.
to different spoken word artists
Yeah.
also, the works of and I don't I mean, I'm very hopeful that a few years down the line, the works of, and I'm not just, not to be talking about me, I know a lot of spoken word artists in this space whose
Yeah.
works, they have an epic body of work. And I feel that some years down the line we will be depriving our children or our youngsters if we do not expose them to their body of work. If we keep spoken word away from being considered a literature that can be taught in the classroom, or that can be that our students should be exposed to. And I think, in fact, workshops are a very good thing. They are happening. We many of us have been a part of those workshops. Many of us are taking workshops. And but then again, it's an hour-long workshop or a 2 long workshop, and I feel we should have classes where we should sit down and immerse ourselves in just hearing spoken word poets from all over the world,
Yeah.
and then giving our take on how we respond to things that they are responding to in life.
Yeah.
We should evoke that. Every piece evokes a lot of questions,
Yeah.
a lot of. So the best way of doing it is to be exposing more and more youngsters and
Yeah.
people to this through maybe live shows is one of them. Then we must have, if there are open classrooms, or we have get-togethers kind of a thing. So there are a lot of ways, and then again,
Like you said, there are these small workshops that are helping you develop your skills, you know, like 1 or 2 hour workshops, but there isn't a full-fledged course. And I think a spoken word poetry today, in today's time, has become so much more than just writing a poetry and reciting it. There is stage performance, there is marketing, there is, you know, how to get out there. It's a full-fledged, like you can actually come up with an entire 6 month long diploma course for it, where you know you and I think there's so much more exposure that is required in something like this. Would
yeah,
you
that's a very wonderful thought, actually. That's a very wonderful thought. I mean, somebody investing six, I feel we are all apprentices in this craft.
Yeah.
None of us is a master. And I would myself want to enroll for, I mean, for me, like, it's a dream to be spending 6 months only with spoken word poetry,
Yeah.
It's like, somebody who has a passion will jump onto such an opportunity.
Absolutely.
It's only, we have to framework it in a right way. It's not about having a course. It is what the course is going to deliver at the end of the day. And it's not only about the academic information that we'll be giving out. It is how they are going to live the whole experience in that course. So I think that thought, I think, should pick up that we
And
should
Jasmine,
have
we at Keva Education are so excited to have you as a faculty on board.
that's like I hope I'm able to live up to that, and we are able to formulate something
Absolutely.
really wonderful.
Absolutely.
For me to be associated with something is not just the association. I need to add a lot of value for me to be taking up anything, and I look forward to it. Maybe together we will, a lot of inputs when you sit and discuss and frame something, we'll come out with something that you've just mentioned.
And thank you so much for adding value today for today's show. There is so much we learned from you. There's so much we all got to take back from you. Lastly, I would like to ask you if you would like to say anything to aspiring spoken word poets. Is there anything you would like to say to them?
I think be honest when you, tell your stories. And I think for me, honesty matters a lot when you are telling your story, because if you're honest with it, it is going to connect. Each one of us has a very unique story. I mean, hear other people, get inspired, but don't be a copy of anyone. You have your unique story. You are unique to yourself, and that is what is going to make you just stand out. And I think that's what I will just, and then don't be in a rush. That's something very the more you cook it on slow flame, it's going to be worth the time. It's going to be worth the time.
And anything you would like to say to any midlifers going through a transition and a transformative phase where they have a passion that they want to follow? Something like it's never too late.
Age, it takes away a lot, but it gives us lots. You get that liberty, you get that wisdom to delete, edit, and detach from a lot of things. And to all midlifers, I would say that ride high on your hormones that are running out, and make the best use of them. Use them as productively as you can. And this is, if not now, then when?
If not now,
This is our time. We have played wonderful, I say, cameos in the life of our children. All those who have chosen to be parents, I'm talking about them, like, particularly because I come from that space. I should not generalize that. So we are done with those responsibilities. We are able to kind of figure out, like, all the jokers and johnnies. We can detach from people who are running away with parts of us. And we know how to, at times, you love people, but you hate mindsets. I think midlife gives you a very wonderful wisdom to make a balance. You can still keep those people and gradually change mindsets. You can work your way towards that. So I think it's a very I think, in fact, if you ask me, Prachi, this is the most wonderful period of anybody's life. And you can just play it up and have fun.
I love
Yeah.
what you said. I think we are going to end the session today with this statement: if not now, then when? And I think this
Yes.
is for everyone. So,
Everyone.
Jasmine, once again, thank you so much for being on our live show today. And I'm sure that you've inspired many people today who've heard us. And I'm hoping that we can do many more things in the future together, and a future that looks brighter soon,
Yes.
and we all move past this. Thank you so much once again. Anything you want to say to the audience lastly?
Thank you. And no, pleasure has all been mine. And I thank each one of you who has joined Kiva Education also. Like, thanks for having me. And we need to have more of such, I think, discussions also, because in doing that, everyone, both of us, I think, both ways it helps. It's not just people who are hearing us. There are a lot of clouds that just get cleared out of our minds as well. So it's a two-way process. I think I'm
Thank
taking
you.
back lots. I'm taking back lots. Thank you so much.
Gratitude.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much once again, everyone, for being here. Please stay safe. Please wear your masks.
Yeah.
Please maintain social distancing. Please stay at home. Let's try to get over this soon. Try to get vaccinated if as soon as you get a slot available, and go for it. And like we said, if not now, then when? Fill your life with gratitude, and thank you so much once again for being here. Thank you,
Thank you.
Justin.
Thank you, Prachi.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.